Good morning, good evening, or good night, folks. I'm your host, Simon Redhand, and this is Gaming Redhanded, where I play games that I find interesting. What I find interesting, as always, around this time of year is Path of Exile. 3.25 trailer just dropped yesterday while I was at work. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. We'll look at the trailer real quick, and then we'll jump right into this.
Rayclast is a cursed land. You'd have to be mad to settle here. And yet, welcome to King's March. It's not much yet, but with your help, we can erect the greatest city Rayclast has ever seen. We'll need resources and savvy planning. Soon we'll attract settlers, craftsmen, fortune seekers, and of course, pirates. But if we prevail, our ships will be heavy with gold. We hope to achieve the impossible. We hope to build a home. Now, there's a lot of great things that showed up in that trailer there. If you guys actually took the time and watched the live stream, they went into detail on most of it. I'm just going to go through and summarize some of the parts that I was interested in, some of the stuff that caught my attention. Now, I knew from the announcement when they called it Settlers, I was like, all right, this is going to be for sure some kind of city building. So I'm not surprised that this is what they came back with. A lot of people are coming to the conclusion that it had something to do with Boat League and all that, but I didn't expect that. Now, what I wasn't expecting was all the AFK type mechanics. You know, as you can see here, this kind of shows out the fact that you can have settlers run your maps for you. I don't know how lucrative that's actually going to be, because apparently they die if they do have maps that are too challenging, but they can eventually do it. They never really explained the recruiting process. I don't know if you take guys and level them up, or if you have to just buy guys who are good enough. And they also talk about the fact that while you're running maps, you run into ore to mine, and basically the ore is guarded by monsters, and as you clear the monsters, you hire dudes to come do some kind of timer activity to mine them ore. And then the same thing goes with trading after you finish mining the ore. And then you can also, so what the mechanic actually is the trading the resources back and forth, gather the materials, hire your guys to run maps. That's all part of the league mechanic. And there's some other things that have shown up here that are not part of the league mechanic. Those are just features that they're trying to implement into the game that they're thinking about if they can go core. So some of this stuff, from what I understand, is what they're going to work through. And if it works out, it'll go core, regardless of whether or not the season mechanic goes core. That's the idea, after watching their interview with Ziggy D and the like, what they always do. Let's see, there's some cool stuff that's coming in here. I don't know how much I'm going to like this time mechanic, because I personally hate mobile games. So most of the mechanics the mobile games offer, I'm not a fan of them. I do like the Calgorian crafting is adding in cool enhancements. It basically brought back enhancements that are in lab, but these are new and unique enhancements because they can throw in some unique only modifiers, which is kind of cool. They're also bringing in a trade market. Now, I had a post way back in the day of me suggesting a way they could implement trade, and that was my original idea, was to take Helena and basically have Helena list your tab, your sell tab, and then people could come to your base and buy things, and that would kind of eliminate the offline trading. Now, what they did was kind of took a next step further. They added in
gold, which I don't know how to feel about gold just yet. But this is a blind auction house where you don't get to see who's selling what. But if you list something, it'll kind of compare the price to other people who are also listing it, and you can buy it immediately. So people are able to sell their items using this new currency trade market, and you don't have to worry about spamming 1,000 people trying to find things. This is one of the features that they're testing. And if it works out, it'll make it to the core game. This is really cool. I like this idea. I like how this is being implemented. I don't know how to feel about gold, but I do understand what they're doing with gold. It kind of removes automation. You can't just sit in your base and flip currency back and forth. You need gold to list these currencies, and then you can buy it. You can trade it, whatever, but you still need gold to buy it. So you're forced to go kill things to get gold. The gold, what they want to make sure that people understood was the gold is not the league mechanic. The gold is dropping this league, but it's not tied to the league itself. It is just a global feature that they're working on. One of the new uniques here, target out. So with the rework to melee, which is massive, they removed melee totems. Melee now is supposed to be more active, supposed to be something you're focusing heavily on and controlling your character yourself. With the change to that, there's more. Melee had a series of triggered skills that trigger on block, trigger on stun, trigger on melee kill. All these skills are now back in the play. So this shield is kind of playing on that. Trigger socket spell on block. There's gonna be a whole bunch of mechanics here, because right now we only cast when done. Things we use is cast when damage taken and cast on crit. So people who are doing melee builds now can actually consider things like cast on stun and cast on block and cast on there's another one there that I'm forgetting right now. But anyway, you can now reconsider those things. You can reconsider things like vengeance and blah 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 blah. I'm gonna go through it later on. I plan on doing a melee build. I don't know if I'm gonna do the champion just yet, or I'm gonna do the wildwood ascendancy. I know I want to do some kind of damage over time, whether it be bleed, poison, or ignite. I am not sure yet. I'm leaning towards bleed, but well, that's gonna be later on when I figure out which ascendancy I want to kind of hammer down with. So the new ascendancy they brought back, they redid champion, not champion, gladiator. They did some change to champion, true, and then they completely stripped Raider and made Raider the warden now. And looking through it, Raider the warden uses tinctures, which were these potions that were in Wildwood. I don't know, I'm pretty sure it wasn't called Wildwood. Was it called Wildwood? That league with the wisps? Yeah, so it was in that league with the wisps. I never used tinctures at all because it only worked in melee. One of the ascendancy passives allows it to work with bow skills, but if I'm gonna do it, I'd probably play melee anyway because I've done a lot of bow builds. I already know bow builds work. I do want to see how these changes will affect melee. So I plan on playing a melee build this time around, but we're gonna go into that later on. They've rebalanced a lot of they've removed item quantity altogether. The item quantity's gone. Ventor's Gamble now does increased maturation of skills. If it still does this weird extreme negative to extreme positive with the gear stats, this new Ventor's Gamble could be extremely good, or it could be trash tiered loot fodder. We'll see when the game launches. They've added base crit, they've added higher rolls for maximum life now. There's a lot of changes they've done. They even added more multiplier to armor. So there's a lot of changes to the armor. This is their biggest patch to date. The patch notes is over 3-4 hours long, 30 to 40,000 words long. People who are doing their patch notes coverage videos are doing videos that are like 3-4 hours long. If you have the time for that, I do not have the time to watch it, but I do plan on going through it myself. I will read what I find interesting, and then what I don't find interesting, I kind of skip over because there's certain things I am interested in looking at now. Also, chisels. They've changed how quality currency works now. You can now get up to 20% on a single tap on whites, 10% on blues, 5% on yellows. There's different quality chisels because of the fact that item quantity is so rare. I guarantee you they flooded the drop pool with these other mediocre chisels just to kind of dilute the fact that item quantity is now more rare. It's still in the game for maps. They want it to be scarcer, so now we need more excessive currency drops to kind of dilute the pool even further. That's the point of these chisels here. Well, I probably will be focusing on pack size chisels, depending on how difficult they are to get. The item quantity ones are probably be the most sought after, and that's probably why they're going to be the most difficult to come across now that item quantity has been completely gutted from the game. All right, so let's go over to the patch notes and get started. So let's start with the stuff that's important. I'm not going to read this stuff here. The lead mechanics, as I broke down that summary, is probably all you really need to know. You're going to be mining resources. You have timers that go as long as 10-15 hours, and you're going to send troops out. They're going to do things on their own, and then you're going to log in and you're going to see rewards. Pure mobile game stuff. I don't know how to feel about this yet. I'm very busy with my real life stuff, so maybe it'll work out for me, but I know a lot of people are not looking forward to these kind of mechanics. I don't blame them. What I really want to go through is probably the melee skills. It's a big deal that they remove melee totems, because ever since I've been playing this game, melee totems were the crux of melee. I hated playing melee because of them. I hated being forced to use the war chiefs and all that nonsense. I'm glad they're gone, but it sounds like they've been soft replaced by the new war banners. So because banners no longer reserve mana, they also seem highly required. But I do like the fact that banners now reattach themselves when you're out of range of them. Their buffs are they're temporary and all that, but it also does give me the impression that they've kind of replaced totems. These are all just talking about the changes that have come with the fact that all these totems have been removed from the game, like completely gone. The banner rework, as I was going over, they're now free. There's some new banners, some interesting stuff here. Most likely you're still gonna use banners in your build, especially if you're doing melee minion builds. You're probably gonna use banners. If you're doing melee build, you're probably gonna use banners. Banners, it's all good. They revamped Rage. What else here? Tinctures. Tinctures weren't good in the lead they were introduced in, so we don't know how good they are to me now. But then again, that's not fair. People didn't use tinctures in the league they were introduced in because melee was trash. So we don't know how strong these tinctures actually are, because no one really gave them a chance, because why would you? That the Wildwood League was very difficult. The mobs were very hard, and melee was not, unless you're doing Bone Shatter, why would you even try wasting your time making melee work in that league? So I don't blame people for not really giving tinctures a proper test run. Retaliation skills are what I'm really interested in. I like the idea of vengeance and reckoning and riposte. So now that melee is being revamped, I definitely will try to fit one of these gems into my build. I'm kind of leaning towards the guard skill, that the one they showed off, the divine retribution, I think it was called, or retaliation, something like that. Kind of leaning towards that. We'll see. I have to go relearn melee altogether, though. I don't really know the specifics of like the crushing fists and the swords, all the stuff here that they're putting in. I don't really understand these mechanics too well, so I'm gonna have to take some time to learn it. They've added the 6 map device slot, which is interesting. It's more currency you got to burn because you got to maintain these slots. That might be a big problem. They added the ability to see what divination cards come from where. The nameless seer is now someone that's going to allow you to shuffle around what's it called, divination card, which is going to be interesting, very interesting. The rest are just scarabs, and I don't really want to bother reading the scarabs list. This is going to come down to me seeing them drop, or seeing some exploit being figured out on Reddit and finding out from them whatever people think the new current drop is. Usually how I figure out what scarabs are worth looking at are update your item filter, and whatever pings the loudest is what I start caring about. Other than that, the majority of them are going to be trash until you decide what mechanics you're going to farm, and then you figure out what scarabs work for that. That's generally how this is going to work, because there's no real need for me to go through it. I don't care what maps get cycled out. I'm going to play beach, and if beach is not there, I'm going to play Ashton Woods. If Ashton Woods not there, I'll figure out a map, right? I usually have a few, there's like 5-6 maps I usually always run, but usually the map I always run is probably usually available, so I'm not really worried. What else? They rebalanced T17. Apparently they chalked up the insane difficulty of T17 maps as being something really goofy. Apparently 2 devs were working on it, and they both buffed the mob's health differently. So they made up some silly excuse and was all good laugh, haha. But when you like sit down and think about it, it sounded kind of silly. That apparently the reason why the mobs in T17s were so overtuned was because two different devs independently decided to buff these mobs, and for an entire 4 months players had to deal with just being ravished by these mobs, with T17 being the gap between T16 and Pinnacle bosses. They ended up being harder than Pinnacle bosses. Because in the last league I was able to kill some Pinnacle bosses, but T17 maps were so detrimental that it was actually harder for me to finish those than it was for me to finish to kill a Pinnacle boss. So apparently they fixed that. We'll have to see when I get back into the game and get to end game and all that stuff. They cut down Delirium. I don't like simulacrums because they're boring, but apparently now they made it more interesting by cutting off the first 15 waves, which sounds good on paper. We'll have to see. I probably still won't run simulacrums, but maybe they'll be worth selling again. Ritual have brought back the corpse specters from the Wellwood League, so that's a big deal because those specters gave you free aura, which means now that they're back, that's another source of income. It's another place to watch for the perfect warlord and etc. Right? Atlas passive tree changes. This is the usual. This I'll probably go through later on. I'll probably focus on this when I start planning my Atlas passive tree. Let's see here. Anything else in here that I really need to jump into before I start looking at the skill gems? No. Item quantity, don't really care about that too much. Just go play. I never really needed to understand not understand, but like need to care about the nitty gritty of item quantity too much, because I never really stacked item quantity. I don't do item quantity builds. Just play off the map, make sure I get good map return, and usually get good items from that, right? So let's go. Divine Blessing moved from the game. And that was done because they're trying to take this philosophy of not having players feel forced to use certain builds and certain uniques in their I should say certain skill gems and uniques in their builds. Divine Blessing was definitely a skill gem that was forced if you wanted to get up there to the highest echelons of gameplay. So I understand why this was removed. Eternal Blessing is on the game, of course, because they're switching it with Eternal Blessing when you have like stuff like Hungry Loop, or actually I think it was just Hungry Loop, right? What else? They changed up the tags of certain skills. They no longer have physical tags. So Blade Flurry, Cleave, Cyclone, Lancing Steel, Perforate, Split Arrow, Sweep. I'm not sure the significant impact of removing the physical tag from these skill gems. This is mainly so certain supports will not work with these skills because these are some of the more stronger skills that already work. So we'll see how that affects the game going forward. So multi-strike has been changed. So half of this change is just a wording issue. The other half is an actual gate. So this is just saying that rather than having multi-strike be tagged on everything, it's just going to state in multi-strike support that it can't support travel skills, but that it also cannot support retaliation skills in general, which is what you would want to link it with on a small 3-link. I would imagine your retaliation skills at most would be a 3-link, unless you really want to go into some weird build, because retaliations are already hard, but then do some kind of weird build that you 6-link it. But I imagine that they're thinking about what would make it difficult, because retaliation skills are pretty strong. To have it attack twice when it comes out would be a big deal, so they went out of their way to make sure to cut that off from the start. Some melee attacks that can be used at range or melee have had their weapon requirements split between the base gem and the transfigured gem. Don't know how that looks. We'll have to wait till they actually show the finished gems. What else is... Oh, I guess this is an example here. Frenzy skill gem now requires either a bow or a wand, whereas Frenzy of Onslaught is a melee weapon or unarmed. So they split the gems that way, whereas the transfigured version is for melee, the base version is still for bows. They did the same for elemental hit, they did the same for puncture, they did the same for elemental arrows. There's a bunch of skills here. I'm guessing they're just going through having the same kind of change being done for them. Balmage's Cry has been nerfed, but I don't think anyone really used that. Berserk has been nerfed, might be a big deal for certain people, but they did go out of their way to change a lot of the uniques around so that Berserker's World Rage is more important, but not so reliant on the current mechanics that people are already used for them. They've also changed a lot of mana costs for melee skills because they want melee skills to be more active, but they also cost more mana. So I imagine the majority of the melee skill patch notes are just going to be talking about the fact that they've increased the mana cost for almost every melee skill that's in the game right now. Let's see, so Bone Chatter, mana cost increase, mana cost increase. I don't think anything else in here is kind of worth to care about in terms of what notes are showing up here. So when I think about what I might league start with this league, I know Flicker Strike is on the table, Exsanguinate's on the table. What else am I thinking about? Because I do want something damage over time, but I do know Flicker Strike is very successful. I have quite a few builds with Flicker Strike already. Lacerate's on the table for considering for melee. Let's go see what else here. And if I do decide to do like Ignite build, then you know, Molten Strike mostly on the table, Infernal Blows on the table. What else is on there? What else can we consider? Oh, Viper Strike is on there also. Viper Strike is like the starting skill you get from the what's it called, Assassin, right? Not Assassin, but Rogue class, right? Shadow. So yeah, we'll go through it. And also, I don't know they even talked about if we're getting new skill gems at all. I don't think so though. I don't think we are. I think the main thing here is the rebalance of the ascendancies. And oh yeah, they did change some of the support gems. I think one of the Rupture gem came from the Deadeye tree. It's now a full-on gem now. That's something to consider. Where is that here? What could be considered a big deal though is the fact that they completely removed Deadeye from, Raider from the game. They intersperse some of her better skills onto the skill tree itself for the Atlas passives. So the Gladiator skill tree rebalance, I do like the way it's sounding. Especially if I do a bleed build, I will go Gladiator just because there's some cool things here. I do like the idea of some of this blocking, some good defensive layers here with determines with more than skill and determined survivor. So there's some good block ideas going on here. Where what else here? The Warden class looks interesting. I do like the stacking of ignites, the stacking of shock, the horror frost mechanics. It is heavy elemental related. So I don't know if I want to play it, but if I play something like Glacial Hammer or something like that, then for sure consider Deadeye. But like I said, I don't want to do something elemental right now. And if I do decide to use Ignite, which I probably won't, I'm leaning more towards Bleed this league. If I do decide to go Ignite though, I will use the Warden because I do like the Scorch that she gets access to. I do like Oath of Summer. I do like some of these ascendancies here. What else here? The passive skill trees are gonna be interesting because planning a build now with all these new ascendancy changes and keystone changes in the passive tree is gonna be fun. It's something I probably will reserve for after Path of Building is updated and I can actually properly see where everything is laid out, because I don't like looking at the passive tree like this in full text mode. I find it difficult to map out and visualize in my head what these changes actually mean without seeing it on the tree itself. These are some item nerfs here. Divination charge card changes, and then of course Ruthless changes, which I don't care about. So this is going to be a massive patch. I am rather excited for it. I'm going to be splitting my time between Path of Exile and Once Human. I love both these games right now. I'm probably not gonna I'm gonna probably do my build video, but as soon as I figure out what build I'm gonna do, which I'm waiting for the gems to come out, and then I'll decide then. But I know it's gonna be melee. I don't know if it's gonna be champion or warden, not champion, gladiator or warden, or just yet. I mean, champion is still on the table too. And with the changes to endurance charges, I might consider also Juggernaut. But I'm leaning towards something with damage over time. That's fire, bleeding. I mean, ignite, bleeding, or poison. And yeah, so we'll see. Wait and see. I am very excited for this league. I don't know how to feel about the mechanics yet, but I do like the fact they brought back the Recombinator. I do like the fact that they brought back the Wildwood Wisp. They brought the corpses back. They brought back a lot of old mechanics that I did enjoy for other leagues. So maybe able to piecemeal something together that's more fun than what Necropolis League was fun for. Like I said, I think I will be playing both, right? I'll be playing this game, I'll be playing Once Human, so I'll be keeping myself busy this league. A lot of content I want to plan on putting out there. As always, guys, I appreciate you for giving me your time. Thanks you, as always. Like the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel to support. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have yourselves a good morning. And if it's the only video you watch me today, a good afternoon or a good night.